ClusterXL load sharing. So the difference between the regular HA is basically you get enhanced throughput because both devices work in the active state. You don't have the active standby scenario anymore. You have active one. So both devices receive a packet and they decide who will process the packet and who will not. So the device will drop it. It's pretty much the same. You still get transparent failover in case of any kind of failure. As I said before, this principle is called fault tolerancy, and Check Point sticks to that. So, as I mentioned before, load sharing has two modes. The first one is called Multicast, and the second one is called Unicast. There's a difference between them, and first we're going to discuss how Multicast works. So we have virtual IP that is being associated with all cluster members. Whenever a virtual IP receives a packet, it sends it out, the same packet, to both devices. It can send it out to other devices in a cluster membership. ClusterXL load sharing can support up to 5 devices. So all of these devices that are in our cluster membership, they receive that packet that our virtual IP has received. And they have, all these devices, they have to agree with each other who will process the packet. All right, so what happens next? If our device has fallen, our warrior has fallen, what happens is the second device pick it up, and all the traffic that was associated with that device will be associated with the second device. It will be active, that device will go down. All right, so I know it might seem a bit complicated, so let's just go over the traffic flow. It's gonna make more sense. All right, so multicast mechanism associates virtual IP address with all cluster members. That's what I told you, right? All packets sent to the cluster IP reach all gateways. That's what I told you. All right, look at that. We have a TCP connection flowing. It gets to our virtual IP. It's not going to one device, it's being split, right? So for 2 devices, the same connection. And then each member decides if it should process the packet. They agree with each other using the TCP sync interface. And if, let's say that guy, 10 agrees to process the packet, it assigns that thing that is called sticky decision function. And he knows that that connection will be handled by this guy. And that guy, at the same time, will still receive a packet, but it will not be able to process that. It will drop the packet. So that mechanism makes sure the packet is not being inspected twice. So this way we utilize our resources more properly. When it comes to load sharing, the difference is we use a Unicast traffic, and the virtual IP address always associates the packet that was destined for to pass through our firewall with only one member of the cluster. We choose it manually, who will be our pivot. This is the term for the member in the cluster who decides who will process the packets. There is actually a reason why we have 2 modes, Unicast and Multicast. You might say, what's the big difference? I don't care how the traffic is being passed, whatever. But there is actually a big point. In most environments, I wouldn't say actually most, in some environments, some switches and routers are not able to handle multicast traffic. So that's why you have to use Unicast. There are ways, to work around that. And all right, so in that scenario, the traffic is being split as, let's say you have 2 devices, as I have in that topology here. We have one pivot member, the guy who handles the sticky decision function. It assigns that tag to the packet, and other cluster members will know who will handle the connection. Because pivot member in a cluster is doing a big job deciding who will do the main work. It actually doing a lot of stuff. That's why it handles traffic as well. It might assign some of the traffic to be handled by a pivot mode. Because of that, because of too many functions he's handling, he's taking around 30% of the load, of actual load that's coming to virtual IP. And other members taking, the rest, 70%. So it's taking less. Traffic flow. We have our TCP connection that's going to our virtual IP. Instead of just going for 2 devices, it's going to pivot because it's unicast. It's associating with only one IP, with our pivot one. Only pivot member performs ticket decision function, SDF. In multicast, 2 devices perform that function. 2 of them do that. If the device goes down, the second member becomes a pivot and it performs SDF. All right, our device went down, somebody broke it. This TCP packet is going for 10, 10, 10, 20. And now we change the status. That guy is active and this guy is down. This guy, have 70% of the load, but it will be handling 100% of the traffic. All right, cluster requirements. It's not too much of the information here, but that information that I have here, it is really important. All of your devices that you want to include in your cluster membership, they need to have same OS, same operating system. They need to have same hotfixes and same hardware. Okay, for example, if our operating system is Gaia R80.30 or 20, whatever, it has to match, right? It has to be Gaia R80.30. Let's say we have Jumbo Take as for hotfix. Let's say it's I don't know, just from the top of my head. Okay, it's gonna be 86. Jumbo Take 86. It has to be the same. And same for the appliance. If the appliance is 5800, it has to be 5800. They have to match. Easy. I'm not gonna focus on that.